Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about Marathon, the big new PlayStation game. Even though you can't play this on PC and Xbox, this is clearly supposed to be the next big Sony live service project. Well, as of the recording this video, I've now played about 22 hours total, about 15 to 17 hours of that server slam beta, which was like 95% of the game, and now I've played about 5 to 6 hours of it at launch. And I gotta say that this game is strange because the first 5 hours, I hated this game. I hate the UI, I hate the way it looks, I hate the permadeath. But after that first 5 hours, I started making friends. I started requeuing. I started understanding some of the systems, the connections, the passives, the bonuses, the builds. And the more I played it, the next 5 hours was pretty dang fun. The 5 hours after that, it's pretty dang amazing. This is a game with an incredibly steep learning curve, a very long grind, but I can definitely see why the people that like it, they can play this game forever. But I want to talk about the goods and the bads because there are just so many different systems all layered on top, and I'm not sure this game is really going to work for most fans. Let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's just begin with the basics of what is Marathon and what is an extraction shooter, because this is still a genre that personally I'm still kind of trying to really get good at. So an extraction shooter is basically a permadeath multiplayer PvP PvE experience. Basically, you drop into these maps, you kill different bots, different robots on this far off alien planet, and they drop loot. They drop stuff that basically lets you craft or lets you kill. It basically gives you ammunition, bigger guns, or sometimes extra shields and stuff like that. But by doing this, you're also going to run into other players that are, of course, are killing the same bots, that are having their own stacked up gear. If you kill these other players, you get to take their stuff. So the goal in this game is, like every other extraction shooter, to murder and evac. After 5 minutes on the map, you can choose to go to any of the different exits. Stand there for 1 minute and you teleport back up to the ship. If you die, you lose everything. Now this sense of risk and reward, at first, it's incredibly frustrating because honestly, the first time you get a good gun, you want to use it. You're like, great, I have this great shotgun. I've got this great supercharged up pistol. It's got all these scopes and stuff. I want to use it. But unfortunately, Marathon is the kind of game where you really got to stockpile. All the stuff that really would make you a better player needs to be held off until you can have a proper build going. Because the way this works is that in Marathon, there's 6 different classes, each of which have different strengths and weaknesses. There's stuff like the assassin, which is able to do like really crazy slides and turn invisible. Or there's a guy who's called the recon. He's got like these abilities to, if he gets pinged, he can automatically know it and even search and find other players easier. My personal favorite is actually the most hated character. I love the dude who can shoot rockets and deploy shields and stuff like that. His ultimate attack, which granted takes 5 full minutes to charge up, so most people don't even get a chance to use it, but when it's active, I can pretty much destroy anything, including some of the mini bosses, completely by myself, because it makes everything I shoot with a gun automatically fires a missile on top of it. And because of this, it makes it where each of the different classes has their own strengths and weaknesses. Some of them are more weak, some of them are more speedy, and all this comes down to the fact that there's this constant sense that you need to keep improving. And that brings me to contracts. So every time you deploy, you're not just trying to kill an evac. It's not just about hunting other players or finding little like boxes and stuff to loot. It's also about completing contracts. So there are these 6 factions. The story of Marathon is basically bare bones, like every other live service game. But basically, there was this ship called the Marathon. It went to a far off planet called Tau Ceti 100 years ago, and it just vanished. There was like 50,000 people on this ship, and it just went away. But now, 100 years later, suddenly we're getting an SOS symbol that says, please come join us. And for some reason, all these bounty hunters showed up. The characters we play as are basically, you're just digitizing your brain and putting it into the shell. That's what the different classes are. And when you die, it doesn't really matter. You just reprint your body, go back down to the planet and try and loot stuff. But it turns out that there are these different corporations that want their own stake of it. And that's the different contracts you can take. These different factions, though, their upgrades, their rewards, and even their quests are very, very different. Each of these different factions have different skill trees that essentially unlock by doing their particular quests, but the quests they want you to do are also very, very different. There's like a food company that wants you to extract biomass to see if maybe they can turn this far off planet into some food manufacturing facility. There's one faction just wants you to kill other players. It's like this weird murderous cult called the Arachne. Their like recruitment video is psycho cultist stuff. Everybody loves that faction, myself included. There's also a faction that just wants you to do like chaos stuff. They pay you to smash windows and set off bombs and stuff like that. And by doing this, unlocking the skill tree, these passives are insane. We're talking basically more stamina, which we need to talk about in depth, all sorts of stuff, more storage in your bank, all sorts of stuff, right? But this basically means that leveling up and doing these contracts is 99% of the game. I mean, straight up, all these different quests, all the time you're here looting and shooting and killing. It's not really about the individual, hey, I found a good gun. It's mostly about, did I complete those contracts? It seems like the first 40 hours of this game is just going to be grinding up all your different factions so you get those incredibly important different passives. Because these do all sorts of different stuff. By leveling up the factions, the store completely changes to have actually good stuff. Each of the different factions has their own store, each of which have tons of different ammo, free med kits, free shield packs, better starter items. I mean, they're not optional. These are absolutely crucial, but it's also that some of them change the way that the classes themselves play. Like, for example, there are the 6 different classes. One of them is a rook. So this game is a 3-person multiplayer game. You and 2 friends drop in, right? The rook can only play by themselves. The rook is a solo class. It basically drops in and it deploys. And already people are making a lot of memes that basically these are the agents of chaos. Like when a rook drops in, if you see one, some people say spare the friendly rook. That's already kind of the catchphrase of the community. Because if you see a rook, you know that they can't get helped up. Nobody's really bagging them up. If you see a rook, most people let them live. But some people take this when basically run with it. Some people are these murderous, psychopathic rooks. Now also, here's the good part and the bad part about the quest system. You can only have one contract at a time. You can only take one quest in at a time, which is incredibly stupid. And rooks can't even do quests. I don't understand why, but basically some of this stuff makes it where the classes are incredibly different. Like rooks, the more you level up like the PvP faction, you can actually have your rooks start with a shotgun, making them basically solo murder machines for just ganking parties at evac and stuff. I really kind of enjoy just how interesting it is that there's this constant evolving dynamic, but it does take an immense amount of patience for it to all kind of mentally digest. This game explains basically nothing. I was very lucky. I actually found and made friends with a bunch of people that have been playing it since the early alpha. These people have hundreds of hours on all the different maps. Currently, for some reason, the game has 2 maps. There's a 3rd map that's coming out sometime this weekend. That 3rd map apparently is the tiniest map. My team has already been talking about it. They've played on it. This final map's called the Outpost. The 2 current maps, they're all very teeny tiny maps. And I feel like there's this hard risk versus reward, right? Like if they make the maps too big, players would get bored. But if they make the maps too small, you're constantly bumping both into bots and to players. I do feel like even after like 22 hours, I've seen the same 10 locations over and over and over and over again. But it does also create this constant sense of shared community because you are seeing people, you are seeing other builds, and sometimes you're getting some very legendary kills. I had a chance at one point. We found a group that was basically just very, very weak, and we had a choice: spare them or kill them. And we decided to ambush them. We had a little like vote. We decided to snipe and kill them. And I got the literal best gun in the entire game. Now, people kind of debate. Basically, the higher the rarity of the gun, the more like scopes and attachments and stuff, you can do a lot of customization on your character. I'll talk about that in a sec. But this singular gun, the B-33 volley rifle, is basically the battle rifle from Halo. They also have a sniper rifle from Halo. They had the shotgun from Halo 1. I mean, this is Bungie. They just straight up put those guns into this. having the battle rifle, the B-33 volley rifle is a straight up slaughter cannon. When I found that, I lost my mind. When we managed to evac, we were literally like terrified, shaking with our controllers in our hands, trying to get to evac while being like, bro, I do not want to lose the literal best gun in the game. When I managed to evac with it and saw it in my inventory, I was like hooting and hollering into the mic because I just had such a crazy powerful item. But this is sort of the thing. Once you get a good build going, it becomes that thing. So right now we have 2 maps. The third map is going to be a harder map. And here in the next couple weeks, they're going to unlock clearly what's supposed to be the end game content, a raid. There's going to be something they're calling more like a heist. It's called the Cryo Archive. Now, we don't know exactly how this is going to access. They're being very vague about it. They said this will be a sort of puzzle focused level, but it's still going to have the PvP, PvE element to it, meaning that this map will be a big community unlock. There's something that's going to happen in the game that will permanently unlock this 4th ultra hardcore map for only the people with the best gear, the best levels, the best builds, because you're not going to be only trying to defeat what seems like super bosses, but also killing the other players who also have the best gear in the game. So that brings me to builds. Let's talk very in depth about the biggest downside to this game, about why at the start it sucks. This game doesn't just suck for that first 5 hours because you're trying to learn it and there's 800 tutorial menus that barely explain anything. The real reason this game sucks for that first 5 hours is a system called Overheat. Now, I've been using the term stamina during the course of this video because that's what Overheat is, right? You're robots, so I guess you don't get exhausted, but essentially, while you're running around, while you're doing stuff, while you're using your special abilities or throwing grenades or stabbing or sprinting, of course, you're using up your heat meter. Now, if you do not have anything other than the basic shell, there's like these free deploy kits. If you choose to try and deploy with like no gun, they give you like the bare bones of it. You pretty much instant overheat. You are always unable to run, unable to use abilities. And if you do use an ability, it overheats and basically makes you walk at a crawl. This is such a crucial part to leveling up because as you increase your build, the different chips, the different cores, the different implants we put onto our shell, they give you all sorts of different stats, right? Hey, here's a special ability where you run faster with your knife out. Oh, now you've got a special ability where every time you shoot somebody in the head, sometimes it splatters and poisons some stuff, right? A lot of those passives are good on those chips and cores, but the other thing is that they dramatically increase your overheat. And honestly, overheat is not optional. There's just so many times where you need to be able to escape. You need to be able to run away. You need to just straight up be able to pick up and boost, especially when you have that crazy gear on you. Now, the other part of it is not only is overheat, in my opinion, too essential, I think base builds should have more overheat or something because starting out, you are so incredibly weak. It sucks to have players that are running basically faster than you, have 10 times the shield of you, doing triple the damage of you, and even if you do manage to get a good headshot or you ambush them at low health, they're just running away like the Terminator and you're kind of just screwed. It's just not a fun system because it does make this slow ramp up that's interesting, but I just feel like that starting grind is way too slow. When I was a kid, there was like these early Korean MMORPGs and early like Korean games that were popping up on the internet. This is like the early 2000s. And I remember that they really had a reputation for being just extra grindy. And I thought that was just such an odd idea. Those games were like, I enjoy a grind. I enjoy a cool build up and slowly like earning crazy cool epic loot, but there are just some people that crave the grind more than anything else. This feels like the kind of game where for every 10 hours of hardcore grind, you're having 1 hour of pure euphoria. We're talking the best gaming experience of your life. But when you die, when you lose those crazy items, when you just straight up get betrayed by somebody or something just goes terribly awry at the last second and you lose all of it, it sucks in a way that I do feel like a lot of people just aren't going to have the stomach for. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of having that feeling as well. And part of it comes down to the idea of seasons. Now, obviously, every live service game loves this idea of seasons, right? Hey, you got to buy the next battle pass. You got to have that next big grind. Now, the seasons in this game are going to be free, right? They don't cost anything. You're not have to buy like things over and over again. But these different seasons, they kind of scare me if I'm being completely honest. So every season's going to be about 90 days long. They said it'll be roughly, 3 months, 100 days, right? And whenever a season ends, the entire game resets. Every faction, every bonus, every gun, every vault, everything you have ever earned, every implant goes straight into the black hole and is deleted permanently. The only thing you keep is the cosmetics you've unlocked. Now, I get that in concept, but I am a bit nervous just because sometimes going from season to season, as a person that has played a decent amount of seasonal games, it does suck when the game you're playing comes out with that next season and you're thinking, do I want to restart? Do I want to redo that opening 10-hour grind of absolutely miserable, no fun time? I'm not sure I'm going to want to. I almost feel like I'm going to play this for the first season, but the developers are also already kind of teasing the idea that seasons are going to be a bit different in this game, that they want to make it where as we're playing, as we're raiding that vault of crypto archive and stuff, they kind of want to say, okay, we want to have a permanent effect on the world. Like, you people are here trying to influence the Marathon ship and the Marathon planet of Tau Ceti. So we want to make it where each of the different seasons will have like a different theme to it. They've already said that season 2 is going to be called Nightfall. We don't know what that means yet, but they're showing the whole maps look like they're shrouded in darkness. And these are interesting ideas, but I'm almost kind of afraid because specifically, this is the Destiny people. And if you played any Destiny, especially a Destiny PvP, which was my only part that I really loved in Destiny, they would do a thing where their seasons would sometimes sunset items. Sometimes they would straight up remove stuff. Straight up, they would just take something that you love the most and just deleted it from the entire game. And I have to admit that I'm a bit nervous. What if there's a part of this game that I absolutely love? I absolutely adore. Some mechanics, some enemies, some monsters, some part of the vault that just, sorry, it's gone. We'll bring it back in 5 seasons. Now, I guess since it's free, it's fine, but I still just kind of have this fear that this game feels so incredibly grindy. I think some people, this is going to be their favorite game of all time. Yes, the UI looks like absolute garbage. Yes, the story is absolutely nonsensical trash, but I enjoy this game for what it is now. I have to admit that I'm having a lot more fun than I expected now that I have people that kind of taught me the ins and outs. But I do have to still say that there's parts of this that I think will sort of scare me the most, is the fact that this being live service, they're constantly tuning it. They're constantly making the time to kill quicker. They're always reducing the ammo or increasing the ammo. I almost think that the thing that scares me the most about Marathon isn't how it is now. It's how it's going to be in a week, in 20 days, in 2 months. What is this game going to turn into? Will I still care after that 15th rebalancing? Will I want it to be my forever game? Because that's what all these live service games are trying to do right now. They're trying to get you so addicted that it's your forever game. And I have to admit that as good as this is, as much fun as I'm having, as cool as it is to be filling up my friends list with absolute murder machines, I'm not sure this is going to be my forever game. It's fun for now. I feel like I'm getting my $40 worth, but I don't know, man. If my first couple runs of Cryo Archive go bad, if those first couple heists are an absolute just bore fest for me, I think I'm going to bounce off. But right now, as of now, it's a good enough time. It's hard to really put a score on something like this because honestly, it's just constantly tuning and changing so much. But now after about 21, 22 hours, I get it. I understand it. And it almost has this air of a roguelike. It has this interesting vibe where the permadeath almost feels like the best part of the game and also the part that makes me want to quit more than anything else. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you feel about the idea of Marathon, and are you excited about it? I know this is probably one of my longest videos I've ever done, but after 22 hours, I literally have like 5 pages of notes here, right? Short time to kill, savage deaths, and quite a few nasty evacs. But I definitely feel like it's a good time if you're in for a hard time. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the proximity chat. I had a time where this guy, his whole team managed to ambush me in a stairwell. And I managed to beg them to spare me and my team. And they went, all right, bro, he can res you. And they legitimately, we all literally aimed our guns at each other and said, good day, and backed away. Times like that, the Marathon experiment makes sense.